the way I left my body. I left my body through my eyes. I'm physically now floating above my body in this beautiful, magnificent, glowing mist. It's like the Northern Lights, but magnified 1,000 times. It's so beautiful. I hear a soft whisper, "Yes, Bill, you're home. You're home in the light of God." I remember begging and pleading, and the next thing I know was the last thing she said. "You must return." It felt like I was a rag doll getting pulled back through time. And then I remember coming in, and I remember being slammed into my body. Hi, my name is Bill Tortorella. I had a near-death experience in Tucson, Arizona in February 1994. We've been doing this show out there in Tucson for the last 5 years or so. And in Tucson, February, they hold the biggest gem and jewelry show in the world. So actually people from all over the world come, Europe, all over the United States, Canada, South America, Asia. And the whole city is filled because it's not only the convention hall that's filled, all the ballrooms and all the major hotels are filled with agents. So they all have booths up in all the ballrooms. And you can imagine the size and magnitude of the show because you got basically over the 2 weeks, you have millions of people coming through. And every year, February is cold and flu season on top of that. So when I got there, there was something running around already. I mean, people were coughing and sneezing, walking around. But we went ahead, set up our booth. Everything went fine. And in the third day, it came to the third day, that night, I came down with something so bad. My gosh, I started a fever. My glands swelled out severely. I had something on top of that I didn't know about called sleep apnea. I got through the first night, and the next morning I go back down to the show. I have a big booth down there, so I have 3 or 4 people working for me. They take one look at me and they say, "Hey, Bill, you better get yourself to the hospital. You're not looking too good." So I got over to the hospital. I remember it being so crowded because people were sick from this all over the place. And they had a guy with a clipboard running around and asking people if they wanted to go to different medical centers around town. So I volunteered and I went. When I got to the medical center, they took me right in. They put me on a gurney. They said your oxygen levels are low, your fluids are low. They took my blood pressure and pulse at first, my temperature. I had a temperature going in. It wasn't looking too good. I was looking pretty bad at the time. But they hooked me up with an IV, and they started running the IV bags, and every once in a while, they would come in and shoot. They were injecting something in the terminal. And I used to be a paramedic, so I asked the nurse, I said, "What are you injecting in the terminal?" She says, "We're putting in antibiotics because we don't know what this is." So basically, they were working on ifs, and they didn't know if it was a combination. It wound up being some kind of a bacterial infection and a combination of a viral thing at the same time. They came over, they said, "Your fever's down somewhat." They gave me a bottle of antibiotics to bring back to the hotel with me. So I took the bottle of antibiotics. They handed me an inhaler. They said, "This might help you breathe better." I said, "Okay." So I remember leaving. Now I'm back at the hotel room that evening, and I come down. Now I start burning up because it's later at night, and usually at night is when the fever goes up high, and I start burning up, and I'm trying to sit up in bed. I never forget, I'm sitting up in bed and I'm having trouble breathing because of the sleep apnea condition that I had as well. So I figure if I try to sleep on the pillows standing up, in an L position type of thing, I would be better than laying down. Well, I remember taking the shot of the inhaler. I took my last antibiotic, and then I must have fell off. And that night turned into a night of light and love. That night was the most beautiful night of my life. I've never experienced anything like that on earth. It was magnificent. I physically remember the way I left my body. I left my body through my eyes. I'm physically now floating above my body in this beautiful, magnificent, glowing mist. It's like the Northern Lights. That Northern Lights, when you see that green glowing in the sky, that magnificent green. It's almost like a fern in the spring, but magnified 10,000 times. It's so beautiful. And now I'm in this beautiful mist, and I'm looking down upon my body. And I remember floating over my body, and I'm feeling nothing but love. I feel this. I feel like I'm becoming love. I feel so wonderful. It's the most beautiful feeling I've ever felt. And to this day, I tell this story, the hairs on my arm stand up. But it's true. The feeling of God's love is so magnificent and beautiful. And I no longer really cared too much about that body. In a way, I still knew it was me, but I had full consciousness now. And I remember distinctly saying, that body no longer is alive. When I said that body is no longer alive, a big beam of light came from behind, lit everything up. I no longer seen the body, and it turned. I didn't turn. The beam turned me, and this magnificent gateway opens in front of me with these swirling colors and beautiful, just a beautiful tunnel. It drew me in the tunnel, and now I'm moving faster, and I'm moving faster, and to me, it feels like I'm moving at the speed of light. But that love I was talking about before is now increasing. And at the same time, I'm feeling the love and seeing all these colors whizzing by me, physically moving at the speed of light through, I imagine it to be the universe. It was so beautiful. And I feel creative. I feel like I'm being protected somehow. I have no idea where that's coming from. And I'm moving faster and faster and faster. And like I said, this love is increasingly increasing. And I finally get to my destination. And I'll never forget this place, because I'll call it heaven, because I believe in God. And I said, I'm home. I'm finally home. Thank God I'm home. I said that over and over a few times, I remember. And then all of a sudden, I hear a soft whisper in my voice say, yes, Bill, you're home. You're home in the light of God. And I said, I know, I feel it. I said, God is everything. And she says, you're in his light. And these are family and friends. And there are spirits all around me at that time. And she says, my name is Antonia. I am one of your 3 guardians. And she says, you have 2 other guardians. I'll never forget this part, because now I'm communicating. I thought I was alone by myself through this traveling part, but now I'm fully in one place, and it's all illuminated, and it's magnificently beautiful. And then she says, another one of your guides is coming. As he approaches me, I see this glowing, beautiful light. And then he physically turns into my brother Peter, that died when I was 15 years old. My brother Peter passed from a cancer when I was 15, and he was more like my dad. And then my dad was there, because he's the one that took me to everything growing up. The baseball games I was in the little leagues, and he took me to the circus and to Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York, where I grew up, was born and raised. Our embrace was just energetic. We embraced it. Everything glowed around us. It was so beautiful, that part. And then he says, we're going to a life review. And now we're in this illuminated area with these magnificent crystals that are reflecting light of the universe. And it's almost like a screen opens up in front of us. It's not a screen, but it's something that's physically showing us back in human form. So we could see each other in our forms, but we were still glowing light as well. But now we look as if we were back on Earth. And now it's bringing me from scene to scene It's called the Life Review, and it started out when I was a young boy. And it starts showing me all the good things I've ever did in my life. Then they switch it on you. They totally switch it on you. And now they show you the wrong things you've done in life. But I felt it so badly, and I'll never forget screaming at this point, God, please forgive me, please, forgive me. I'll never forget it. I said it over and over and over again, and all of a sudden, all that grayness just drops. And now we're standing back in spirit form again. So it's me, Antonia, and Peter. And Antonia says to me, look at yourself, Bill. And I looked at myself. I turned into one of them now. And now I'm really feeling like this is my home, you know. It's so beautiful here. Well, because when we're back in spirit form, we only feel God's love and service and kindness to others. We feel all the good in life. We have knowledge of what others are doing by telepathy. It's amazing. And Peter says, Oren's coming. And I'll never forget this part. Because when Oren approaches me, I recognize Oren. Not from knowing him here. Well, Oren was my angel sitting on my shoulder my whole life. We always have our guardians with us at one time. And Oren was my intuition at the same time. And it's not a thought I'm talking about. An intuition is deep. An intuition is something that it almost nags you over and over again to the point where you know it's not the right thing to do. Or what to do. Exactly what an intuition is. And then Oren says, when he arrives, it's the three angels, my three angels, I call them. That's what I call them. And me. And he says, we're going to another level. They whisk me off again, and now I'm in this magnificent theater, and it's just beautiful crystals around again, but now it's reflecting life. It's reflecting combustion. I'm seeing life. I'm seeing eternity. I'm seeing births of babies. It's magnificent. And then they take me and show me the past. They show me the present. They show me the future. They show me things in sequence. And it's the same type of sequence. It always was like that same sequence, even back. But now they're showing me events of the world, not just myself, but of the world. And then it took me to two scenarios of our future from here. A reason why I believe this story is so important. We reach a point in humanity where humanity stops caring for itself. And there's no kindness left in people. People are so just urgently thinking and anxietized and how they're going to make money to put food on the table. And our timelines are not aligned anymore with reality. But I remember them bringing me to a place that looked like this. I seen fires burning. I seen floods. I seen things happening in the world that's coming out now that I still see in my mind. The whole key is there. After all this terribleness is showing to me and people are stealing for a bottle of water or killing people, that's how bad it looked like it got. But then they switch it on me, just like they did in the other things, and told me this is all up to choice. And they bring me to this utopian atmosphere. People living in service and kindness and helping here on earth is like we're living almost in heaven. I can't explain it. And I'm not sure exactly how we get there. Now they bring me to the last part. I'm sitting with my three angels, and now we're in this group. Now they're importing things into my mind. I'm getting these from all the angels. They give me 9 principles of enlightenment to go by and explain to me. These principles, if lived by, will save your planet forever. These 9 principles are just beautiful, simplistic, beautiful principles. They're principles of love, they're principles of choices, they're principles of intuition. There was one principle that was the same as the 10 Commandments, the one principle, thou shalt not kill. Not that you can't protect yourself in self-defense, because you can't, because no one has the right to kill you either. But thou shalt not kill, we're not supposed to. And the way it was explained to me on that side was we're not supposed to interfere in everybody's life path. Because there might not be them, but it might be their great-grandchild that makes the cure for all the diseases in the world. So basically that's the way that was explained to me. Now I'm down to exactly what happened at the end. Not an angel, but a beautiful, glowing young spirit approaches me. And it's a woman's voice, a girl's voice that talks out of the spirit. And she says to me, do you understand the 9 principles of enlightenment? I says, yes, I understand all 9 of them. Clearly, I understand them. She says, you must return. My wife was at home pregnant. She was pregnant at this time with my son Billy in her belly, and she was going through a terrible morning sickness for months and months and months. And that's why she wasn't with me on this particular trip. So I thought this was all about my son. Yeah, my life path wasn't, I have a son coming. She says, again, you understand the 9 principles of enlightenment. You must return. I says, no. I was fighting. I was fighting with her. I remember pleading, begging to stay. I'm part of love. I said, I am love now. Don't send me back. I said, I'm part of love. I remember begging and pleading, and the next thing I know was the last thing she said. And she said these words to me clearly. She says, I am 6 of 6. You must return. You understand the 9 principles of enlightenment. Before I could say yes again, I was being pulled back, not as pleasing as going. It felt like I was a rag doll getting pulled back through time. It wasn't pleasing like it was coming. And then I remember coming in, and I remember being slammed into my body, and the only thing that moved in my body was here, the top by my throat. My top of my chest lifted off the bed. My whole body was dead. My body was paralyzed. My throat took in air like I was underwater for an hour. My throat I took a breath of air in so deep I've never taken it in my life. I'll never forget this. But now I'm sitting there. I'm back in this body. And now I start feeling this pain. And what probably was only minutes felt like almost a half hour to me. It's how minutes could feel long in some cases, because my body was dead. I didn't have no blood flowing in my body. So eventually I started feeling tingles in my arms and my limbs. And the tingles were rolling and rolling and rolling. And now I could start to move my fingers a little bit, and then my arms a little bit. And I'll never forget reaching over, grabbing the phone and saying, yeah, somebody. And I hang up, and they must have sent one of my people in or somebody. And I woke up again. I'm in the hospital. They got me on all the monitors and the gurneys and everything. And they told me I went through an episode. They didn't tell me what kind of an episode. They told me you're still sick, but everything looks okay now as far as your heart and everything. So I was confused. I was afraid to say anything to anybody because I thought the minute I open my mouth, they're going to think I'm crazy about this experience that happened to me. I waited till I got home. I told my wife. She says, Bill, she knew I was telling her the truth, exactly what happened. She said, Bill, you got to talk to Dr. Vasquez. I remember I made an appointment to see my doctor. And I got to my doctor. He says, what are you here for? I said, I haven't seen you for a while for a medical checkup. I was afraid to tell him at first. So he takes me in. He takes blood work, my blood pressure. He has my heart. Says, everything sounds good. And took your blood, did your urine. I says, your test will be back in a week. I said, Dr. Vasquez, can I talk to you? He says, well, is it personal or is it physical? I says, it's a little both. He said, it's a little both. I can't. He says, follow me, because it was the end of the day. Thank God it was the end of the day. We walk into his office, and he's doing some work. He said, just give me a minute. He's doing some work, and I'm trying to collect all my thoughts to remember everything clearly. And he says, what's wrong? I said, well, I had an experience. And he said, well, what kind of experience you had? I just told him the same exact story that I just told you. And then after I finished, he says to me, Bill, when did you have your heart attack? I looked at him like he was crazy, because they didn't tell me in the hospital. I thought he was crazy. I said, it's Dr. Vasquez. I said, you know I never had a heart attack. He said, you've been my doctor since I was a paramedic years ago. And he said, Bill, you died. You had a heart attack. The night of your death, your heart stopped. 6 of 6 told me back, you have messages, 9 messages to bring on to people that have to learn. I still didn't know what the meaning was. I'm 6 of 6, she said. Years later, down the road, June the 6th, the 6th month, and the 6th day, my daughter Brianna was born. She was born. I believe today she was the one that sent me back, that young little beautiful spirit that told me I had to go home because my life path was not completed. And she knew she had a brother in her mother's belly. And that's my story.